Good morning. Our topic for this whole month of May is spiritual laws and how to use them to bring more joy into our lives, more courage into ourselves, more peace and happiness, and more of all the good things that we'd like to see being expressed in our lives. And today's topic is the law of mental equivalence. Aren't you excited? We get to study the law. Well, our topics come from this beautiful book, Living the Science of Mind, in which our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, explains these things. And you know, he loved words. He always used many words when one would do. And here, in his own words, is his lengthy explanation of what the law of mental equivalence is. Oh dear. It's a lot of words. But we're going to simplify it. The law of mental equivalence means that everything that is consciously and subjectively embodied in our thinking tends to radiate an atmosphere, a vibration, a current of thought, inward acceptance which automatically attracts to itself that which is like itself. There's got to be an easier way to say that with fewer words. So I went through and I deleted most of the words. The law of mental equivalence means this: that our mind creates an atmosphere that attracts that which is like it, both in our surface mind and in our deeper mind. There it is. I have an example. A friend of mine, a while ago, no matter how hard she worked, her checking account was always a little short of what she needed. Even after she changed jobs and got a better salary, she still found a way to keep living check to check. Even after she got quite an advancement and promotion and a huge salary increase, she still found a way to come in just a little bit short. You see, because her mental equivalent was like a glass ceiling that she couldn't advance beyond. You see, because the atmosphere of her mind created something that felt like this: it's normal to be a bit short. I have another friend, he called himself a serial monogamist. You know that expression. He just had relationship after relationship after relationship. And it's not that he was disloyal. He was very loyal and very committed in relationship. And he didn't have any trouble finding the relationships. It's just that they were all practically the same person in character, even in look. And you know that they all treated him in the same way. And they all left him for the same reasons. You see, his mental equivalent had something to do with what he had accepted for himself as being normal in relationship. So we could restate this law of mental equivalence. We could say it's something like this. The law of mental equivalence, it's what my mind has accepted as normal for me. And the law is that life shapes itself around what I have accepted as normal. That's the law. Now, here's an important detail to keep in mind. You and I, we've each got one mind, but it's got two modes. There's your surface mode. That's your conscious mind. That's the mind that you used this morning when you woke up and decided to have breakfast or not to have breakfast. It's your choosing mind. That's the mind that you used this morning when you decided whether or not you would get up and drive here to the Center for Spiritual Living at 2075 Occidental Road, Santa Rosa, or stay in bed and listen to it on the radio at KSRO 1350 AM. Your surface mind is characterized by choice. It's your choosing mind at work. That's one mode. Now you have a second mode, your deeper mind. Your deeper mind acts below the surface. You know, when you were deciding what to eat for breakfast and you ate that breakfast, your deeper mind handles the swallowing and the digesting and the translating of all of those nutrients into all the things that you shall ever need to dream and to live. That deeper mind Remember that moment this morning when you got up and you looked in the mirror and you said to yourself, you know, Elizabeth, you look very good today. Because what you were doing, you were putting a message, you're planting a seed in your deeper mind, and your deeper mind takes that thought and it started to wrap your day around it. You see, it works in the background to fulfill your choices that are made on your surface mind. It takes direction from your surface mind. I got to keep that in mind. And our founder says that everything in our surface mind and in our deeper mind together, it creates an energy. He calls it an atmosphere. It's like a mood or a theme. You know, like a theme park has a theme, a character. You and I have a theme, and it's made up from everything in our surface and deeper mind together. Have you ever thought of that? You've got a theme. Well, you know, if you did have a theme, what might it be? Or another way of asking it is, how do I move through this world? What is my mood? Because your mood or theme is connected to what your mind has accepted as normal for you. It's your mental equivalent. Now, different parts of your life can have different themes. You know, for example, relationship. A person's relationship theme could be almost anything. It could be confident, could be jealous, it could be suspicious, it could be desperate, it could be sharing, it could, you know. A person's health theme, what could be anything? It could be denial, it could be engaged, it could be proactive, it could be trusting, anything. A side note, I mean, we are studying the law, and not to get too technical, but just for a moment, get a little technical. See if you can stay with this. It's interesting, I think. You see, our minds have the ability to create a loop. It's called a reflective loop. You see, this is how it works. My surface mind plants the seed, something like, I'm not enough. And then my deeper mind goes about producing matching results. Then my surface mind looks at the results and identifies it as evidence. And in so doing, plants another seed of confirmation into deeper mind. And then surface mind goes about fulfilling the confirmation. Now, the original thought, I'm not enough, is called a secondary cause because it's not first cause, it's not the truth. And yet, it is creating something in my life. All right, back to the law of mental equivalence. So the reason our mood or theme is important is because the law of mental equivalence says that you and I attract to ourselves whatever is most like the mood or theme. You and I attract to ourselves whatever we have accepted in our surface mind through choice and planted as a seed in our deeper mind. There it is. And the good news is that we can change and expand the atmosphere of our thinking. And here is how. By reframing what's in your mind, by using good role models, by focusing on your values, getting them in focus, and getting clear on your priorities. So let's start at the beginning. To reframe really means to redefine, and that's how you grow a new normal. That's how you change your theme, by changing the way you think about things, by practicing seeing things in a new, expanded way, by expanding your definitions. I've been thinking about this because recently I read a blog about how the words we use affect the way we think about things. I really get that. You know, take, for example, the word lazy, which is what this article was about. Sometimes I call myself lazy when I don't want to do something. And the author of the article says when you call somebody lazy, it's really a character assassination. It's a flaw that you're identifying, and it's a conversation stopper. And she said, really, people aren't lazy. They are demotivated. And I read that, and suddenly a reframe opened up my mind. When I read that, my thinking changed. My mood changed. I'm not lazy. I'm demotivated. See, because when I talk to myself and I call myself lazy, I can feel the energy of it. It's stuck and it's down and it's not good. But when I think of myself as being demotivated, well, that changes everything. It opens up possibilities. There, that ceiling is opening up. Now questions and possibilities arise. How can I become re-engaged, re-motivated? What am I interested in? What do I want to do? And why am I spending my time trying to do things I'm not interested in? See, I don't have to accept the mental model of laziness anymore. I can expand that, and I can rethink that and reframe that. And I've learned that here, that whenever there is energy that is stuck or stagnant in my life, I get to look inside for how am I talking to myself about that? Are there repeated patterns? And maybe I can find a new and constructive way to talk about the same things that open up the field of possibility and don't keep me hooked into what happened before. Earlier this morning we heard that beautiful song called Waiting for My Happiness by Janice Stanfield, and it was performed by Christopher Fritchie. And it tells the story of a person who does everything right. Affirmations, therapy, positive thinking, but still she continues to wait for her happiness, and it doesn't come. It's stuck. Her mental equivalent about happiness is that it comes, and it's usually late. You see, there's a reframe that needs to take place around there. Coincidentally, Reverend Tara Steele and I are facilitating an on-site retreat workshop right here at the center, and it's about reframing what does it mean to be happy by shifting focus away from things that are not in my life toward focus on those things, people, and experiences that are in my life. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's on June 15 and 16, Friday evening and Saturday all day, and it includes breakfast and lunch and yoga and prayer and meditation for $50. Here's a second way to work with your mental models, to change them, and that is through using role models. That's when you study good people, people who you admire, people who are doing the kind of good work in the world that you aspire to do yourself. So then you look into their world, and then you practice making choices the way they make choices, or you practice acting like they act in the world, or speaking like they speak, etc., until it is as normal for you to think and act that way as it is for them. Here's an example of how that might work for you, for using a role model. You might ask yourself something like, how would Mother Teresa respond to homelessness in Sonoma County? How would Jesus of Nazareth speak about the rise of the white supremacist movement in our nation? How would Emma Curtis Hopkins, who is one of the matriarchs of our teaching, how would she respond to personal criticism aimed at her? What would Eleanor Roosevelt's attitude be towards social justice in America today? How would Mahatma Gandhi speak about violence as a pathway to freedom and security? You see, the answers to that, even though you might have to imagine some of them, they will be a way of planting seeds in your deeper mind. And that's why it's important to admire people who are lifting up society and the human race and the animal kingdom and the planet. See, I try to keep that in mind, when I dwell on something, when you dwell on something. In my surface mind, it is planting a seed in deeper mind, and the deeper mind is what goes to work on it. So considering what role models might say is a way of changing things up for the better. It's a wonderful method. It's practiced by people of different faith traditions all over. Hindus model their lives after Rama and Sita and Krishna. What would Rama do? Christians model their lives after Jesus and Paul. Jews model their lives after, Moses, Ruth, Esther. Who do you model your life after? Who are your heroes? Here's a thought. Change your heroes, change your life. Or change your mental equivalent. Another way to work with mental equivalence, number 3, is to focus clearly on your values. Get clarity on what you stand for. You could ask yourself the question, what is the standard that I have accepted as normal for my behavior? Because that's your mental model. If I say I'm all about love and unity, well, that's good. And I can also ask then, why did I yell at the person at the deli because she didn't make my sandwich the way I liked it? Ralph Waldo Emerson gave us the beautiful words, "Who you are shouts so loudly that I cannot hear what you're saying." See, because there is the standard I say I live by, and then there is the standard I actually live by, and guess which one is your mental model? The way I actually show up and speak. Because it turns out I probably have accepted a value deep in my mind, and it's gone to work, and it's showing up all around me, especially in how I act, and probably producing a few reflective loops. Homework for this week. Ask yourself, what are the 5 most important values that guide me in my life? You've got to start somewhere. I did that exercise, and I can say important to me is kindness, generosity, honesty, creativity, and love. These are important to me. Well, once I've identified them, then I have to add them. I have to sow them into my deeper mind, and I do that by studying them and thinking about them and integrating them until they are as normal to me as breathing. There's an exercise you can do that. First, you identify the values, the 5 values, and they may change over time, but start somewhere, and then you give yourself 30 days. Day 1, you take the first value, whatever it is, love, for example, and you just journal. You write in your journal what love means to me, how it shows up to me. That's all you do. You just write about it. Then day 2, you go to the second value and just journal about that. Then day 3, you go to the third value and journal about it. And day 4, the 4th value. And day 5, the 5th value. And day 6, you start all over again on the first value. And you journal about it. And at the end of 30 days, you will have a relationship with these ideas. And something will happen. You will be opening up your mental equivalent. You will find it more and more difficult to stray away from your values. So far we've talked about reframing how we talk about the stuck areas in our life, using role models to guide us in our choices, and to know what we stand for. And the 4th way of working with mental models is to sort out your priorities. Get clear on your priorities. I attended a workshop, a convention for ministers only a while ago, and the facilitator asked us ministers, What are the top 3 priorities in your life? Please write those down. And so we went about it, and we all generally came up with a very similar list. Most of us put at right at the top of our priorities divinity, God, somehow, spirit, number 1 position. And the second, we all identified something in the relationship field: family, relationship, pets, children, spouse. That was second. And then third, we all put our work, our synagogue, our church, our temple. That's what we put there. But it was a trick question. Because the facilitator asked us next, I'd want you to get your schedules out on your devices or your calendar, get it out, and based on how much time you spend on these different things, what do your priorities really look like? Ouch. Oh my goodness. Some of us were shocked that our actual time use told a different story. It looked quite different from our stated priorities. See, we had accepted a way of being in the world as normal that was quite different from what we said was important to us. And according to the law of mental equivalence, what is accepted and embodied both in surface mind in our choices and deeper mind, well, it's working on our behalf to wrap our lives around it. Turned out for many of us in the conference that the priority looked like this. Most of our time was spent on our job, top priority. Then followed in second place were all the relationships, sometimes having to be squeezed in. And then in third place, spirituality when convenient. That's embarrassing. But it did make me think of some wisdom from the Jewish Testament. It said every time the children of Israel put anything else before their God, they fell into bondage and strife. Oh, there's something to learn in that. I suspect that whatever I put in first place becomes my God. I see that, I began serving it. And then it becomes my theme. And there it is, my deeper mind receiving the instruction. This is what is most important to you because you spend all your time on it and you dwell on it mentally all the time. I shall now wrap your life around it. So there you have it. Oh, and our founder, Ernest Holmes, he says, not to worry, there is good news. He writes, a person does not change all of their patterns at once. It takes place little by little until gradually the old patterns become transformed into new ones by some inner movement of the mind which we do not see, but the results of which we can experience. So we have it there. We can expand our mental equivalents, whatever they may be today, by reframing and redefining our inner talk when we're experiencing moments of stuckness. We can get some good role models to inspire us to go beyond what is our current ordinary. We can identify our values and integrate them by becoming truly familiar with what they mean. And finally, we can get clear on what our priorities actually are to see if any shift needs to take place. I invite you to breathe in with me and to exhale, letting your eyes close for a moment of prayer. I know there is a powerful good which is responding to me right now and bringing into my experience everything that is necessary to my success and unfoldment, to my happiness and to my peace. I know there is a powerful good that enables me to help others and to bless the whole world. So I say to myself silently, there is one life. That life is God, and that life is perfect, and that life is my life right now, and it is flowing through me and flowing through my thoughts, circulating in me to produce the highest good. I am one with its rhythm. My heart beats in synchronicity with its heart. My whole physical being is animated by this Spirit, and I am at peace. And I say to myself silently, I am guided every day so that I shall know what to do in every circumstance, in every situation. And what is guiding me is the divine intelligence, leading me into right choices, right connections, right self-expression. And I desire that this goodness shall be the only thing that controls me. And because I do, I open my heart to bless and prosper everything that I'm doing. And I realize that I'm one with all people. So I affirm that there is a silent power flowing through them as it flows through me. And realizing that the whole world is made up of people just like me, I open up again my heart and bless the whole world, and I plant the seed in my deeper mind that we are all under the government of divine good, guided from that, inspired by it, and led into peace and harmony. And so it is. I invite you to breathe in again deeply and to sigh.